So God. No, but for real though, I really have I'm really curious. What are we going to do when we're in heaven? We're just going to be chilling the whole time? Do we work? What do we do?
I mean, there's a few things that we know. We're going to be layered in a green silk. We're going to be wearing the finest. I know we'll have some.
My grandma's going to be a tailor.
We're going to have jewelry. We're going to see rivers flowing of honey, milk. We're going to have alcohol. We're going to get lit.
Oh, but hold on, what, alcohol?
There's going to be wine there, but it's going to be something where you don't get drunk. You still get like that happy feeling.
You get loosey-goosey. You still get loosey-goosey.
Without the hangover, you feel me?
So a lot of y'all don't know about that, and you should know about that. Stuff the law. Don't do it, please.
All right, bro. But how you been, though, bro?
I've been decent, Mohammed. I've been decent. How about you, bro?
Alhamdulillah, man. Good.
This is weird. Looking each other right in the eyes. It's kind of weird. And we're wearing masks.
Hey, man, what I do know is that all you need is just a few good aces in your deck. You feel me? And your deck of cards.
Yeah.
And you'll be all right.
Sorry.
You my ace, homie.
You're my ace, too. I'm just sorry. I just caught myself breathing really heavy into the mic.
It's okay. You got a mask on, so
I know, man.
It's not going to be just as bad for the users' ears. I'm sorry, listeners.
Yeah, guys, we're trying to be as safe as possible with COVID going on. And we want to simplify that everybody needs to wear a mask.
Come on.
When you go out, when you're with friends, wear your mask. Even if it gets hot. If you're watching the YouTube, check that out.
Right. But without further ado.
Oh, man, we're just starting like that? Okay, yes, Mohammed.
Time to kick this joint like Beckham.
That was so lame. All right, give me the countdown. Give me the countdown,
baby. Let's go. 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? This is Jabril Salam.
And Muhammad Hassan.
And you will listen to the Young and Muslim Podcast.
Asalaamu Alakum, everybody. Oh, yeah, we ready. We are ready for another great episode.
They already know the murmurs is on.
What are we talking about today, Brother Jabril?
We're talking about sleep deprivation. which I am experiencing right now.
Yes.
No, we're not talking about sleep deprivation. Today we're talking about independence and the importance of independence, specifically with us two being Muslim men. We're speaking directly towards the importance of independence and why it's so important to establish it between your family, your friends, and just go your own track.
Yep. We're talking about independent thinking, independent energy. I mean, just overall, sometimes independence is looked down upon because it's hard and people just aren't used to it. And I know there's a lot of cultural baggage that kind of stops you from that. But really, you come to this world alone, you leave alone, and you're going to have to stand in front of Allah alone. So there's no better time to be independent than now.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, just to start the conversation. Do you feel that there is a real concern for Muslim men and independence?
Absolutely.
Is it like the lack thereof?
Absolutely.
Why?
There's many reasons. One is that they're not taught independence, especially people that come to this country, because I think a lot of people in America are independent in many ways, definitely independent thinking. In other societies or cultures, it's a very, not a one-sided conversation, but it's like...
It's groupthink.
It's a group thinking, exactly. It's group thinking and group methodologies. And once you hear something or you learn something from your grandpa, grandma, family, uncle, whatever, you really don't question it. You take it and you move with it, and you actually start living your life like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of the thoughts that people have really aren't their thoughts.
Really?
Yeah, and the way that people move, they really don't move the way they want to, especially now with social media too. On top of that, it's just chaos.
So there's the family influence, right? And one thing I want to say is that in this country we do have a very individualistic mindset, right? We're very heavy on do what you please, manifest destiny, go in the way that God intended for you to go, do as you want, right? Laissez-faire type of attitude. However, many people that immigrate here, they come in packs, they come in groups, and they establish their culture here, and they try and, navigate this country with that same culture, which, as for a lot of people who live in the West, whose families aren't from the West, they're finding that very difficult to handle. And what I don't want this conversation to imply to anybody listening is that one is right and one is wrong. I think both have good intentions and both have a place.
Yep.
You know,
Facts.
so I don't want anybody listening to this to say, "Oh, my family, my Pakistani family, all they want to do is do da 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 da," or my Nigerian family, da da da. It's like those customs work, but in this country specifically, you have to adjust, you have to adapt, and you have to be able to say, "We're going to keep this because it works for us." Having a group mentality in this way works for us. For many people and how they do the economics, that works. But when it comes to the individual, that's where we're starting to see the issues, is specifically in the Muslim community.
I mean, just look how far behind people actually are. For example, our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says that when you're a country, abide by the rules. So if you're in a country and everybody drives on the right side of the road, you're not going to come and be like, well, in my country, we drive on the left side of the road, so this is just what I'm going to do. And it really surprises me that people are in this country for 30 plus years and still have that same mentality. Sometimes I think, like, how is that even possible? Like, you go to work, right? You interact with people. You're seeing what the world is. But when you come home, you shut all that off, which I understand. Like, your house is your castle and your place for you to kind of, your sanctuary to be safe. But you can't act like what's going outside isn't happening, right? You can't act like that's not real life, because it is. And then when your children go out there, they're going to be like, okay, dad and mom aren't showing me this, right? And one way or another, either it's today, tomorrow, 20 years from now, the world gonna catch you. You know what I mean? The world gonna catch you. So
do you think that's, you mentioned independent thinking. What do you mean by independent thinking?
So what I mean by independent thinking is asking questions, right? And kind of combating things that you've been learning or been hearing since you were a kid. Yeah. Right? For example, there's a lot of, in Egypt, a lot of people are very superstitious about stuff that is very simple. Right? So right now, I know a lot of people can relate. After you pray, people fold the musallia, right? They fold a corner, like a little piece. Have you ever seen like the prayer mat? They like fold it. Like after you done prayer, people fold it, right? And I like, why? They're like, yeah, because if you don't fold it, the shaitan's gonna come and pray after you or something like that.
Isn't that what you want?
Right? And then that's something you just hear, like, okay, not that example, but it falls in line with something like that. You hear something, and then you just automatically do it for the rest of your life. You don't even question it. You don't even question. You just start doing it, and then that gets passed on to generation after generation after generation.
That's funny, because that actually is the very opposite of Islam. Like, Islam teaches us to do your research, to do your due diligence, and what you're saying is these cultural practices and the way that they're adhered to prevents young people from going against the customs.
I'll give you an example. When it comes to marriage, right? I feel like I just learned about the nikah not too long ago. People don't talk about nikahs in Egypt, other countries. They don't talk about nikah. It's like, okay, no, first we're gonna get the engagement done. After engagement, we're gonna have a celebration on this day, and then this day, and then we're gonna do that, and then at the end we'll have the big celebration. It's okay. Where do I actually get married? At the mosque, and they actually make it right in front of God. Okay, at the end, that can be like a 1 or 2 year process. When in reality, you cut all that out. Religiously, it's like, dude, if you go to the masjid as a male, you don't need any witnesses. The female just needs 2 male witnesses, father, uncle, brother, you feel me? A guardian. Then you can get it done. It can legitimately be 4 people there. But they don't show us that, and we never question it. Because like, you always think, big wedding, that's only engagement, what makes sense. That's only what makes sense. So that's what I mean by independent thinking, you know?
So that must be really hard for someone coming into to have this duality, right? To have a third culture. So you're Muslim, you're Egyptian, you're American, and the Muslim, the Islam in you and the American in you are saying, freedom, think for myself. I want to do what makes me happy. I want to do the things that my customs are going against, but your customs are like pulling at you as well. How hard is that to I guess, kind of like, how's that struggle? How's that struggle to yeah?
It's a hard struggle, and what it reminds me of is the Surah Al-Kahf, right? When it's Musa, right? It's Moses, and he followed the wise man, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to find that wise man, he had to search all over because he wanted to study with the best, right? And he had to go through a lot of fluff for that. So I think it's the same way. That's all cultural fluff around it. So if you really want to get to the truth, if you really want to get to the center of it, you got to go through all that, right? But that's a lot of hard work because people around you keep adding more fluff, right?
What is fluff?
Fluff is, like I just mentioned, the engagement, the big wedding, the gold, all that's
gotcha.
all
just
fluff.
all of the
Just more and more and more, and they make it seem like it's not a problem, and they make it seem like it's a requirement. So you're like, man, I gotta do all this before I get married. You know what I mean?
Like it's mandatory.
It's mandatory. And when you think it's mandatory and you don't do your research, you're like, okay, then you just put that next to Islam, which isn't right because that's not what God said.
So how does that make sense when I'm Muslim? You see how we do things.
Yeah.
So how do y'all view the stuff that we do? Like it's wrong?
It's not wrong, but we view it as like,
it's lesser or something?
You can say lesser, you can say more simplistic, but it's like, well, that's not what we do, you know? And when we do it right, we do it big. But you getting married and somebody else getting married, if they do all that stuff, you guys are on the same level. You guys are getting to the same point. But to answer your question, it is very hard, especially when you don't have advocates around you and other people that are independent thinkers as well. But you know, one thing that really did help me was linking up with you, right, and your family, people that are already in tune with the culture.
Liberate your mind.
In tune with the culture and understand, like, yo, no, it's not like that. You feel me? It doesn't have to be like that. You can make things easy. Islam is easy. We make it difficult.
Yes, sir.
And it's very hard on the children because it takes a special breed to go up against everybody. Bro, it takes a special kind of person.
It's risky. I can't remember which episode. I think it was episode 43 with Imam Shadid.
Yes, it was. I don't know if it was
44.
Maybe I know it was Imam Shadid episode, but I can't.
Yeah, where he talked about the difficulty of going through cultural apostasy.
That's exactly the word that
was
used.
the word, apostasy, right? If you haven't listened to the episode with Imam Shadid Muhammad,
connecting the dots to Islam,
make sure you listen to that episode. It's a banger.
ASAP.
He spoke on it briefly, saying it's very hard and it's few and far between because you don't know what can happen when you go against generations and generations of cultural just norm, right? And this culture and Western culture, because it is so laissez-faire and you can do what you want, it's one of those things where like we have such a wide range of culture, right? But what we're seeing now in this country is when you go against white American culture, it becomes an issue.
I see that. Hey,
it's a bigger culture.
But
we have our own cultures within.
Facts.
You know, the white American culture, right? And they don't like that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Yeah. Is there such thing as being too independent, too free thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
How does that look and why?
I think that when you come from a culture where everybody is very independent, there is no, like, the individual can get lost. You get lost in the customs of others. You get lost in the world. You don't really have anything to hold you, right? Even within religion, you can get lost within religion if you don't have some sort of solid foundation of what you and your people before you do, right? Now, do I believe that customs and culture come before, everything? No. I think with Islam, you see it with the story of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, where he went against the culture. He went against the norm. And you see what happened, though. He got disowned by everybody.
His father, family, community, every single person.
So I think you can take that story and relate it to your situation or to any situation for anybody coming from, being a third generation or first generation Western kid, is that if the customs that you're coming from don't make sense to you in your common sense and into your intellect and into the way of Islam in the most simplest form, you don't have to abide by it. Even if it's not wrong, you don't have to abide by it.
Facts.
You feel me? And if it's wrong, you definitely don't have to abide by it. But it's like culture is there to help you identify with who you are, who you come from. And it's made to give you flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. Like, it's made to give you an edge, you know, a little pizzazz, right? When you take culture away, you're lacking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But culture is deep. It's in how you talk. It's in your accent. It's in all of that. It's more than just how you get married and all the small, like the stuff that they make big. It's kind of like hijab or khimar. It's only mentioned a handful of times in the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the biggest thing we make.
Such a huge emphasis on it.
It's pointless. It to me, it's pointless. Like, it doesn't matter, right? And in the sense, the importance that we put on it is not near to the actual importance of it being placed by God. You know what I'm saying?
I do. But the way that happens is in the mind, the wheels had to start turning. That's what Abraham did, right? He started asking the questions like, yo, Father, you creating these sculptures and everything like that and these gods, but they can't even help you. They can't even talk. And he's like, yo, son, mind your business.
He's like, hey,
you messing with the money.
Don't F up my shmoney.
Yeah, because he was in charge of doing that for the whole village, and that was a money maker. That was a cash cow. You feel me? Because everybody out there was worshipers. So his father like, yo, you taking money, like food off the table right now. He's like, yo, Pops, this just does not make sense. And he was 15 years old. People probably think like, well, I'm not Abraham. Absolutely, you're not. But
well, to that point, it starts for a lot of you that young. It starts at such a young age for so many people in this country that you are Abraham. That story is directly related to you because it happened so young for you, where you start realizing like, none of my friends do this. And some of my friends are Muslim. My non-Muslim friends don't do this, and their life is fine. Why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why? So you start questioning it. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but continue with the story about it.
Once, like, people ask, like, you know, how do you get great answers or great information? You have to ask good questions. If you ask simple questions, you're going to get simple answers. But when you ask great questions, that's when the mind starts going, because your brain is like a search engine. It's legitimately Google and Bing on steroids. You feel me? It's like, why is this? Then it's like, okay, your brain's going to be like, all right, this is all the reasons why it doesn't make sense. These are all the reasons why it does, you know? And then once you start doing that, a question turns into another question and that's a snowball effect. Next thing you know, you have the energy to be like, I'm not rocking with this. And then you find other like-minded people to keep around you.
You want to know one? So one of the things that I struggle with, right, as being someone in the West, African American, where I have the same struggle as you, but in a different way, is with traveling.
Do tell us more. Yeah.
So for example, like African Americans, like culturally don't travel like other cultures. Like your whole family goes back and forth to Egypt. They've been to Kuwait. They've been all over the place. Like, bro, I can tell you this. I got family members who like will barely leave the state.
That's insane.
You get what I'm saying? It's like I know plenty of people who have never left the state. Or when they do leave the state, they go to like DC, they go to New York. It's like they really don't venture. They don't really explore. They kind of just stay in a bubble. They stay in this cultural like party lifestyle. And it's like we didn't come from people who didn't travel. I mean, bro, we were brought here over ships.
Born traveling.
You feel me? Like forced to travel. But it's been culture. It's been cultivated within our culture for us to not move. Like I can get deep in it with slavery and things like that, but really it's something that has been embedded in our culture that, oh, black people don't travel. It probably wasn't a black person that said that.
No, definitely was not.
It probably wasn't a black. It was a slave owner that was like, yo, black niggas can't travel.
Yeah, I'm not going nowhere.
You can't ride a horse. You can't. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it becomes over time. It becomes like you just don't do that. And so when you start questioning it, and you're like, bro, like I want to leave here. I don't want to live here. And you start, asking questions like you were saying. People are like, nah, why'd you do that? Nah, this is the best place ever. Like, da da da. And then you're like, well, why are you being so defensive of it? Like, I just want to know, like, what's the point? Like, you going, like, why are you even going to try it? Like, there's no reason. Like, I've heard that. Why would you even leave? There's no point. Like, it gets no better than this. It's like, where have you been? I ain't been nowhere, but I see the news. You're like, what? what? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. And that's crazy.
And it has me question, like, is independency something that people fear? They just don't know. Another example is young men not being able, because, you know, really it's up to you, moving out the house, right? Making that move, having that independent lifestyle. Doesn't matter how much you take care of your family. Doesn't matter if you pay all the bills or what. You're still at your mama and dad's house. Doesn't matter even if you bought the house for them. That is their house, right?
Yeah.
Until you move out and you have to purchase every little thing for you and set your own routine and figure out the way that you like to set up, you're not going to really feel that independence.
Oh, my man saying that because y'all notice. If y'all notice, we not in my apartment.
Well, you guys know the journey, right? I can't hide it from y'all. Yes, alhamdulillah, I have been able to get the independency myself.
My man got a leopard on the wall. Look at this.
I ain't playing with y'all, dog.
I can't see much, but my man, he over sophisticated.
So that's what I was talking about, the independent energy. Remember we were talking about that circle last time? You're trying to make that circle as full as possible. So I think it's the same thing with independency.
Oh, that was an off-camera conversation.
Yes.
We can elaborate on that, though.
We will probably later on the conversation. And if you don't make that leap, one thing that I noticed is that people won't give you independency. You have to fight for it. It's like you said with the slaves, you know, it wasn't like, all right, guys, it's been 400 years now. Like, go out there and, you know, you guys have done enough.
Gone.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't work like that. Mm-mm. They had to fight for it. They had to, you know, scratch and fight for all that stuff. So you have to fight for it and you have to get it. And then once you get it, you have to establish yourself, establish your own 2 feet. And that's when you start your own journey, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's not easy. It takes a different type of breed. But I think all young Muslim men need to go out on their own, especially way before they get married, and take care of themselves, because just the same way the mama baby them, even if they didn't, they bring a girl around or anything like that, it's just
try to treat it exactly
it's going to be bad news.
Bro, I mean, this is one of those moments where it's like, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I told you. Bro, it's a different feel when you in your place. You wake up, it's just you. You got to go get food. You got to eat. You got to learn how to cook.
Clean.
You got to do all that, because now when you get married, you're not just saying, oh, my wife is going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because now you know how it is to come to a house that's messed up, and you're like, dang, I did all this.
It's not even that I come home and I'm like, if the house is dirty when I come back, or messy, it's still gonna be messy when I come back.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I'm not gonna, all right, I'm gonna come home to a clean house. If I don't clean it, it's not gonna get clean.
So you establish independence. You establish a mentality of, it's up to me to determine how this place is gonna look. You hung the picture on the wall. That joint is immaculate. Mm-hmm. That joint looks, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got decor. Like, you had to choose this stuff, and it's like, you start thinking long term, like, okay, bet if I can design a house, well, what else can I design in my life? Mm-hmm. Can I design how well my marriage is going to go? Can I design, you know, the career track that I want without the input of other people? And so a lot of us have to start looking like that, like, how can I make the best of my life with my own individual thinking, with my own decision making? Not saying, oh, mom said I should do this or dad said I should do this. At some point, you have to make your own decisions. Even independent of your spouse. Even when you're married, you have to make your own decisions independent of your significant other. One
thing that Islam teaches us, and we were watching a video earlier today, Islam teaches us many things. It's the attachments and things. Don't get too attached to anything in this life, whether it's your job, whether it's your wife or your kids, because those are all, at the end of the day,
I didn't like them no way.
That's all from God. And when God takes it away from you, and you know that everything's borrowed, right? Your body's borrowed, your time's borrowed, and everything. What I'm trying to get at is that you can't be too attached to anything, because when it goes, you still have to be able to operate. You still have to be able to move, right? And I think it's also the same way when individuals study under somebody, right? They have a sheikh, they have an imam, and every word that comes out of their mouth, they're basically verbatim saying what their imam told them and what the sheikh told them, which is awesome. Like, you learn from somebody, but where is your research? Like, where is the time that you pick up the Quran and you manifest and you come up with your own thoughts? Because that's what God directed us to do, right? You're responsible for these words. I brought these words for you. So if you're not doing the work yourself and you're just piggy banking off somebody else, then what happens when that man like passes away? You know, God forbid, it's that attachment. So why are you laughing?
I'll tell you off camera.
It's piggyback. I said piggyback. That's the.
Yo, all I pictured was a piggy bank, someone throwing a quarter in the joint. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna leave it.
For
I'm not
those
gonna say
that
nothing.
No.
Oh
Okay.
my god, yo, that was good. That was good.
That was gold.
No, but you're right though. You're right. Like, you have to be able to establish, what do I like? What do I want? And we go back to being in the apartment. The importance of living on your own, independent of your parents, is you get to know who you are and what you like to do. Your schedule. I'll tell you this: if you guys listen to the episode we did with Rami Yusuf, highly recommend it.
Yes.
Great episode. He talked about how when he moved, he started praying, and the same thing happened to me. And what I notice is when I'm at home, I struggle to pray with my family. I struggle to pray with them, and I've been thinking about this for months now. Like, why? And I think it's because I'm trying to get my own spiritual routine. You feel me? Like, there's certain things I like to do before Fajr, during Fajr. Or maybe I just want to be in, be out. I don't want to have to, talk. I don't, like, I can't explain it, right? But it was so much easier for me to pray all 5 prayers when I lived on my own. Mainly because, hey, go to the store, or, oh, we got to go do this. And then, you're just you're moving, right? You're not just on your time when you're at home. So that's why I think, when you expand that, it's all encompassing of your whole life. When you're living with your parents, you're not on your time. You're on everybody's time.
But let's even take it back a little bit to the younger listeners, right? If you're in school, that independent thinking comes a very long way. But the hard part is going against the crowd, Jabril. When you were younger, you did things that you like, whether it was the way you dressed, the music that you listened to, the type of hobbies, right? And as an African American male, talking about surfboarding, skating, like people just like, yo, that's not what we do. And you're like, yo, bro, why can't I do it? That's a question that you ask. Why can't I do this? Is there something wrong? That's not something that black people do. Why don't they do that? That's what people would stop. That's what I mean, taking those extra steps. That's not something black people do. Okay, cool, then let me go hoop. You know what I'm saying? But you're like, nah, why? So you keep asking those questions. And if you're younger, there's something that you want to do, go ahead and do it. Don't wait for anybody's approval, because at the end of the day, you have to live your own life. You have to make those decisions. But being independent comes with a heavy price tag.
It comes with an emotional
heavy
burden.
Price tag.
It's an emotional and mental burden. It really is, because you're going to get teased. You're going to get joked. You're going to get ridiculed. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel like, dang, like, why is it so hard just to do something I enjoy? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not hurting nobody, right? Like, even playing soccer, like, for a minute, it was just like, oh, you play soccer? Oh, that's white people's sport. It's like, everybody in Africa plays soccer. Like, everybody, right? Everybody in South America plays, like, but when specifically African Americans, when we go against the grain in any way, other African Americans almost feel threatened. Like, you're going to open up possibilities and show that there's other ways of doing things. They're like, no. And that's what the entire culture, that's everybody. And that's small things, right? Now we're starting to see things open up. It's a little bit, I would say, almost too opened up, right? But I think as you get older, you start to get a little bit more swagger. You start to understand yourself. You start to understand the things you want to do, and you really stop caring. You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff from the past is always going to be in your mind. You think about it, but you really just stop caring about what people think. Because you want to know something very funny? All the music that I used to listen to back in middle school, high school, that kids were like, yo, there's white people music. all of hip hop has transitioned into like that indie type of music, right? All the hip hop that I used to listen to back in high school, you know, something because I brought that stuff to college when we met. All the music sounds like that now. Everybody used to joke Cudi. All these little rappers sound just like Cudi. All like the way I dressed back then, everybody's dressed like that now. Like so what's funny about it, and this is for our younger listeners, they're going to catch up to you.
Yes.
You do you, and people are going to catch up to you.
Set the trend.
Set the freaking trend. On the money.
On the money. But when you set the trend, it also comes with responsibility. Being independent, going back to the price tag I was talking about, you have to be very disciplined to be independent, because you can be independent for a little bit, but once you start getting bullied and picked on, you're like, man, this is too much. And then what do? You fall back in line with everybody else. Mm-hmm. But you legitimately have to stand your ground. And the good thing about it is that somebody's going to see your vision. Somebody's going to be like, you know what? I like this dude. And you're going to attract that energy. Mm-hmm. Energy is everything. So when you stand your ground long enough, Allah gonna bless you. People that have that same mindset, like I was talking about, that's that group. And that's how I feel like you and I came together, right? In college, like we had tons of people. There was a small school. Everybody knew everybody. But somehow our energy brought us together. We had a great group of friends, and we stuck with each other, alhamdulillah, and we got the thing done. You feel me?
Yeah, 100%, bro. So yeah, no, you're right. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. No matter, there's at the end of Logic's second album called The Incredible True Story. I think that's one of the best albums that I've ever heard. I love that album. At the very last song, The Incredible True Story, there's a skit part where the guy, I can't remember his name, but he says something to the effect of, everybody, there's always someone out there who's going to like what you do, and they're going to be interested in the thing that you do. So just do your thing, because there's going to be somebody that's interested in chocolate covered chicken wings. Yeah. And they're going to be like, yo, that's great. Like, I tried this. Da, da, da. Everybody's going to say, ew, that's nasty. But one person is going to say, I like that. And then you're going to be able to say, I have a friend. And then there's going to be more people. How do you think these people get these big followings? You know what I'm saying? It starts off really small.
Very small.
Very niche. And then all of a sudden, these people just got 1 million subscribers on YouTube off of eating chocolate covered wings.
It's authentic.
With ASMR.
Hey.
The point is, do you. Be independent in your thinking. Be independent in your moves. Be independent in how you are. And that doesn't mean that you have to break away from the group.
Just about to say that. Yep.
That doesn't mean that you're any less Egyptian, any less African American, any less Pakistani, any less Bangladeshi, Korean, whatever your race, religion, ethnic background. You aren't judged by the things that you do. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Your cultural identity isn't beholden to the things that you like to do. So you can be a Korean and love to surf just as much as a Hawaiian loves to surf, or a Senegalese person. Well, a lot of people don't know Black people surf all over the world.
Right? Yes.
Like, we live on coast.
We've been swimming in the Nile. You know what I'm saying?
Like, oh, Black people don't swim. Like, no, they swim all over the world. So it's like that shouldn't be a part of the culture. Limiting beliefs shouldn't be part of cultures. And if the cultural beliefs are limiting you in the things that you can do, leave them behind. If your culture is limiting you, leave it behind. I'm gonna say it one more time. If your culture is limiting you, leave that stuff behind, because it's not taking you anywhere productive. Leave it behind. There.
Hey, after that statement, I don't know what else I can say. Jabril, don't question about what I would say. You will be ridiculed a lot. Your family's gonna be like, why are you acting like this? Why are you acting American? Say, look, I'm just trying to be the best version of me, and they'll come around. Don't worry. It'll take some time. It may take a lot of time and patience, make tons and tons of dua, but you'll be okay. Just keep faith in Allah.
There's two things I want to bring up. One thing is you mentioned being decisive. This is off camera. You mentioned being decisive. I want to go into that. And then after we finish that, I want to fill everybody in with what we talked about off camera about, filling your,
let's go ahead.
Being a complete circle. So can you explain what you meant by being decisive in your independence?
So as a man, All right. You have to be very decisive in the things that you do. For some reason, people have a very hard time in making decisions. Once you make a decision, doesn't matter what the outcome is, stick with it. Stick with your gun, stick with your gut, and go full force. Nobody likes anybody that's taps around and goes back and forth. No, make a decision, stick with it, and be proud of the decision you make, because regardless, either you fail or you be successful, you're going to learn something. But when you're bouncing back and forth, that can be the shaitan in your head, can be other people's thoughts, you're always going to lose. All right, you're going to lose every single time, because you're like, dang, why didn't I go hard? You have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Like, this is your decision, and people like that. People like people that are direct. That's why CEOs, that's why it takes certain people to be CEOs and entrepreneurs, because once they make a decision,
they stick with it.
They stick, and they know they got people depending on them. That's the whole country. That's people's livelihood, right? A whole country, a whole company, whatever. But think about your CEO, if somebody at your workplace, if your CEO changed his mind in regards to mission statement or where he was going every single day, would you have confidence in him? You wouldn't work there no more.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I think that a good leader is able to change his mind very quickly. You're decisive in the concrete things, like your morality, what's right and what's wrong.
Okay.
But you're very much able to change your mind with certain things. For example, like, let's say how we market the podcast, right? 1 minute I'm like, yo, like, we should definitely get on LinkedIn. Next minute I'm like, LinkedIn's pointless. I don't think that makes that person any less of a leader. I think a leader is able to make a decision but not be attached to the decision.
Thank you for elaborating on that.
You know what I'm saying?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, you're able to make decisions based off of what's right for the moment.
Yep.
And seeing where it can go longer term. Like, you have to be able to read the room.
I'm laughing because think about COVID. Perfect example.
Yeah.
Some CEOs were like, guys, look, y'all not coming in for the rest of the year. Like, I'm not putting you at any type of risk. The other people's like, I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we can dig into that then. We made certain decisions about, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then eventually, it took us a while. It took us a good minute to come to a decision how we want to do certain things, how we're filming right now, right? Did we want to do Zoom and do this, or did we want to do IG Live? Like, we had to make certain decisions, and certain things we decided on a while ago that we had to change our minds on. We're like, no, we're going to have to change this. Oh, we should do this production one. Like, you always making decisions and reversing decisions that you made previously. That's part of life. That's part of being a boss of your own life. That's part of being the star of your own movie. That's part of being the CEO of your life. You're going to change your mind. And you gotta, but the trick is you have to own up to every decision that you make. You can't shy away from the responsibility of the decisions that you make.
Or the consequences that come with it.
Or the consequences. I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
So now let's go into the circle that we talked about, the diagram.
Yeah.
You're trying to grow that as much as possible. You were the one that brought it up, so if you want to go ahead and start that.
Yeah, so we were having a conversation with a friend, and the conversation was about us trying to achieve our maximum potential, right? So if any of you guys play like FIFA or any sports game, they always have like the little diagram where it's like speed, passing, tackling or defense, and then, you know, like the different parts, right? And it'll be like a diamond. So like one area will be like you're very strong here, and this one will be like you're weak here, so it won't be as far out to the edge of the circle. And then another part would be like, you know, almost to the edge. Another part might be completely inverted, right? Our goal being here is to try and be as whole of a circle, as close to the outer edge in our fullest potential. And anything that we do that takes us further away from that potential needs to be removed. And, you know, we were talking with this particular person about certain habits that we all have, right? And I was like, yo, like, do you feel like that is helping you get to your fullest circle? Do you feel like that's helping you in all areas of your life? Do you feel like maybe you're lacking here? And if you stop, you know, doing X, Y, and Z, or you start doing X, Y, and Z, it can fill certain gaps. He's like, well, I feel strong. I feel good when I do this. But I was like, but you feel strong in only one area, right? But what about the other 4 or 5 areas? That one habit, 2 habits that you implement can actually strengthen all those things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about like independence and we're talking about wanting to gain mastery over yourself, I think that's kind of what that conversation was, gaining mastery, self-mastery. You really have to start looking at the things that you're doing, the habits that you have. And I'm telling you this from experience. When you establish independence, you start thinking on your own, you really start to understand, okay, how am I mastering myself? How am I trying to peak my potential? How am I trying to be the best version of myself, right? And that, like, we can take it down to prayers. How are you praying? How many times are you praying? What are the things that are stopping you from praying? What are the things that are stopping you from, being the most sincere while you pray? Like, what is it?
Self-awareness.
Yeah, self-awareness. You got to just understand that. And then you got to reverse engineer, and then you got to try to pick apart the things that are holding you back so that circle will go from this to this, like a fuller circle. It'll just be a bigger circle. And the more well-rounded you are in your life, the better your life will be, because you'll be more well-rounded in your finances, your emotions, your mental capacity, your spiritual capacity, your relationships, like every part of your life, your diet, all those things. You want to try and get to the outer edge to be as most complete as you possibly can. And that's what the conversation was about, the outer, about the whole circle. And
that comes with you spending time with yourself. That is the number one way. I don't want to say the only way, but the number one way to gain self-mastery, self-awareness, and really understanding yourself. Because when you're alone in your own apartment, you don't have mom, dad, cousin, brother breathing down your neck, telling you what you should do, what you don't do. You are alone with your thoughts. And those thoughts are scary. Those thoughts are very, very, and you can get a lot of anxiety from that too, right? Mm-hmm. So once you spend more time with yourself, you understand yourself, you figure out what you like, what you don't like, what ticks you off, what makes you happy, what makes you cry, and all that stuff. So that all comes with it. Mm-hmm. So
I also think it's important, though, we talk about this a lot, the buddy system, having friends around you who are going to tell you straight up, like, yo, you're not right in this, you're wrong in this, like, or you're right in this, you should feel this way, it's okay to feel this way. Like, you need people around you that are going to give you unfiltered advice.
Yeah.
And if those people are us for our listeners, then so be it. Like,
with no bias involved.
Yeah, like, you need people, you need straight men. Yep. You need a straight man.
Not a yes man.
Yeah, so I just found this out in comedy, right? You know how in comedy there's the one guy that always cracks the jokes and the one that's always kind of serious? The one that's always serious is called the straight man.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to Seth Rogen.
Like
he was
good cop, bad cop type thing?
Not good cop, bad cop, but like, there's the one person that always cracks the jokes, right? And the other person is kind of just like, he's funny, but he's just like, he's regular. He's not a comedian in the movie. He's just a straight man. Mm-hmm. He's just like, whatever, like, cool, let's just get this done, right? But the other guy, like, what was the movie with Will Ferrell and
Step Brothers?
No, the one where he was a cop. Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be the straight man, but he was also funny. So it was like it was a weird dynamic, right? So you need a straight man. You need people in your life who can listen to what you're saying, but give it to you, like, just straight up, raw, unfiltered advice of who you are. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Of who you are, and really let you know, like, bro, you need to get on your stuff or you're doing just fine. Don't worry.
So to gather your thoughts and what to get from this conversation, first things first, look inside, right? See the things that you want to work on, see the things that you're really good at, and figure out what are your thoughts and your beliefs and what are other people's thoughts and others' beliefs. Because once you decipher that and you separate those two, then you can really get to work. Yeah. Then you can really get to work and be like, okay, cool, this is what I like, this is what I need to do. Even if it's one of those things where you don't have the ability to move out, spend more time, on a long drive, go on walks, just be alone. It's okay to be alone. I think now people make it seem bad. You're not really alone when you have a law on your side, right? There's a difference between being alone and lonely. You can be alone and not be lonely. So don't get it twisted. Another thing that I would say is that find that group of friends that think like you. And don't be afraid to be you, because Nobody can be you like you. There's 7 billion people on this planet, but only one of you. So,
yeah. And there's a video, we didn't post it, but I can't want you to win more than you want you to win.
No way.
If you want your independence, then you got to fight for it. Like Mo said, you got to fight for your independence.
Yeah.
No one's going to give it to you.
Oh.
I can't want your independence more than you want your independence. So if you out there and you're like, oh, I want this, I want that, then you got to fight for it. The reality is, it's hard out here, guys.
Make sacrifices, big sacrifices.
100%. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Man,
I think they got it. I think they got it because a lot of people are really feeling the need for that freedom.
Yep.
That they're feeling the cultural groupthink is choking them to death. But this also has to be said before we go. Don't abandon who you are in pursuit of a lifestyle that you think is good, right?
I like that.
Don't abandon where you come from because you feel as though it's not as good enough, right? Like don't downsize or downplay the impact that your culture has had on you and the people around you for the positive. Weed out the negative, take the positive. And that's the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Take the positives from culture and put it together. You can do things like we were doing dhikr, Allah. Well, I did dhikr with my family during Ramadan. We had never ever in our lives done it, ever. And they're like, "What is this?" Like I was sharing it with them because I had done it a couple times. We did at Camp Khalil. That was really cool. Yep. That was my first time doing it like in the African American community, and it was sick. I loved it. That's not necessarily something that we grew up doing, but I would love for my children to learn. I would love to.
You brought it back home too.
Exactly.
I love that.
So you bring cool things in, and that doesn't say that you're any less of your culture, or if you decide to leave some things out, like folding the tip of your prayer rug after every prayer, that doesn't mean you're any less Egyptian.
Exactly.
Right? But the goal for us is to be the best version of ourselves, to be the best Muslims that we can be, and to at least attempt. Yeah. To make that attempt, guys. That's the most important thing. If we can make the attempt to be the best version of ourselves, then we're going places. Right.
Be you and be true, brother. Look.
We're leaving with that. That was dope. That was dope.
Be you and be true.
All right. So,
bro,
Muhammad,
please leave us a review, y'all.
I forgot how we haven't recorded in so long. I forgot how to do these outros.
Hey, it's time to wrap this thing up, baby.
Okay.
Wrap this thing
up. So Muhammad, if they want to find us, where can these good people find us on socials?
Yes. So if you guys want
no.
If you guys want to listen to, yes, thank you, Jibber, for correcting yourself, my man. You on it today. If you want to listen to us, we are on all the major listening platforms. Alhamdulillah, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, Pandora. I mean, alhamdulillah, we're on all the major platforms. And Jabril, if they want to also watch us and hit us up on social, how could they do that?
My turn. Yes, sir. If you want to see these beautiful faces and you want to talk to us on social, you can look us up on Instagram and Twitter at Young and Muslim. That's YOUNG, the letter N, Muslim, Young and Muslim on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also find us on YouTube at the Young and Muslim Podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, reviews, all that. We want all of that smoke. We want all of that. Blow it in my face. I want all of that, right? Little dicky. So make sure you guys go on there and subscribe. And yeah.
Okay, baby.
We'll wrap this thing up. How long we been on?
49 minutes in.
Wow, 49. That number has no significance. For the last 49 minutes, you have been listening to the Young and Muslim Podcast. I'm Jabril Salam.
And Muhammad Hassan.
And we leave you with the greetings of peace.
Asalaamu
Alakum.
Peace.